All right, folks, good afternoon. I know you're enjoying your football and thing, but we had at least put on the volume, right? I'm gonna try to print for you, but I can't guarantee it will work because I went to buy the ink yesterday morning, but the place had a call last week. And I went Saturday, but they were closed. So yesterday morning, I went, dropped my son daycare, buy my coffee around Savannah. I went to Massey in Woodbrook. I didn't get on my shopping list. And 8:08, I reached my people. I say, I come for the printer. They're like, we had some orders yesterday. But we have a shipment coming, so come back Thursday. So like these people were. So right, I didn't get that, but that printer seemed to be cooperating on Monday. So let's see if we have some luck. Here's Teresa. Hey, good afternoon, Teresa. How you doing? All right. Yeah, I there you go. Just a little tired, busy, but alive. You know? Right. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna just take my road, right? So okay. I see in. I'm not gonna say Ayaz on the inside, but Ayaz just jump out. I'll put Ayaz. I think he come back. I see Devin on the inside. Jaden here, Jaziri here, Jordan here, Cassie here. Right. The holding name wheels out because they have grandmas. Liam here. I see and Lou. I think Logan said he was coming back. I'll check back the message. Right, Mandeep here, Marcus here, Matthias here, Noah here, Nyla here. Right, so Paige here, Shamor here, Talia here, Teresa here. But today? All right, yeah, guys, yeah. So, but just once again, my apologies for being so late. So today I was my wife's grandfather's funeral. So that was 10 to 12, the cremation, and then I went back by her pops just to have a little kind of after party. Well, that's the wrong word, obviously. But yeah, just have the gathering. And we left and I had to drop them home and make a little super farm run to get some stuff, But yeah, hey, look, Logan. Hey, afternoon, Logan. How you doing? I'm now calling him, boy. How are you? Good to have you on. Okay, so guys, today we're going to try and wrap up the bank reconciliation statement revision, right? Now I know we were here Monday and we were late Monday too, so it's about the same time. But the good news is once you do a few of these, you kind of have the idea about how to tackle almost any of them, right? So what I want to do, I want to start with grenade. So again, I'm going to try to print for those in class, but I was just giving you a story that I went to get the ink yesterday by the people who said that they had the ink, and then they didn't have the ink. So they said come back tomorrow, which is Tuesday, right? Okay, hold on. So let me I want to send all of these files for my WhatsApp people, so I don't have to send each one every time, because then that'll, of course, take time to do. Crash course question. Hold on, that's my keep, yeah. And then I did a keep accounts unit 2 crash course going on. Part 1 was yesterday. I did 8 hours with them. And in the second 2-hour stretch, I was falling asleep very badly. Right, but fortunately, I was able to rally for the last 4 hours. Anyhow, I'm finishing them off tomorrow evening. Yeah, guys, so after today, we in May. And exam is Tuesday. Today is Wednesday. So we are there. Right? So in case you don't remember, let me just pull up the schedule real quick. Just to remind you, and I think I messaged everybody's parents yesterday as well. I got an early message because yesterday, being Wednesday, yeah, so I was up from 2 o'clock yesterday morning. Baby son was crying for a little bottle, so wife fed him, and normally I could fall back asleep, but wasn't able to. So got up, prep some work for the Cape Accounting crash course, and then, well, just wake up the rest of the day. Anyhow, so let me just send these things to the people. As in, you want it warmer? Oh, okay, so you want it not to be blowing on you. Right, so Google Meet, look at checking in chat. Right, so ladies and gents, we are officially to the end of April. So after today, as far as I'm concerned, we're in exam season. I mean, as of now, so but it's like Lent and then Easter, like Advent and then Christmas. Right. Anyhow, so tomorrow we go and do errors in 2 sessions. Budgets on Friday, stock valuation on Saturday, payroll on Sunday. All you have 2 big exams Monday. I think well, everybody here doing English, right? Yeah? Anybody here not doing Spanish? Oh, okay. I thought page 7, like everybody doing Spanish. Okay, well, those who are not doing Spanish, if you want to come a bit earlier and start a bit earlier, we could do that. That's not a problem, right? Again, I will. The cost for me for these sessions will be the usual cost. I will not add on anything extra, right? It will be the usual cost for me, right? Yeah. So hopefully you guys can make it. I know some people have some clashes because they have Spanish lessons and stuff, right? I wanted to put extra sessions here and here, but if I cross 10 sessions, I had to charge more. 10 sessions is the max I could give away in any 1 month without going over, right? But anyhow, and then of course, yeah, I kind of burning myself for the last few weeks, including this week. So I had to kind of ease up a little bit, right? Anyhow, and don't forget, folks. I know it's exam season, but Mother's Day is on the 11th, so hopefully you right buy a little card, write a little poem for your mom, buy a little song. Right? Where's Aliana? Yeah, this year. All right. Hey, afternoon, Aliana. How you doing? Good to have you on. All right. Right. With that said, let's jump into the bank recs questions and see what we could do about making sure we understand how to tackle the bank recs questions, where they give us, as you can see here, just the words. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'll do 8 copies. I'll just print this page. Yeah, and I find this laptop taking a little longer to do some stuff than usual. All right, so let's just put this to print. I'll give it out in class here, and then we will start looking at it. Actually, we could look at it while it printed. Okay, so in the previous work on Monday, we got a cash book and a bank statement, and we got to compare the information in order to see what was different. Jadon, good afternoon. Dina, paper 3, you email me, Dina? I had to check my spam. Jadon, what topics do you want to study for paper 2? The whole syllabus. The whole thing. I can't tell you what coming and what not coming, so might as well know everything. Right. Okay, of course, I print 1 copy today, right? Lovely. Okay. So in September, Grenades cash. So this is May 2016, by the way, right? Grenades cash book showed an overdrawn balance of 3,400. So an overdrawn balance means it is an overdraft. On what side of the cash book do we bring down the overdraft balance? Debit or credit? Credit, because an overdraft is a liability, right? The bank account is classified as an asset. If, however, we have that overdraft in it, it is at least temporarily a liability, okay? Now, it did not agree with the balance on the bank statement. So right away, they set it up. Hey, your cash book balance and your bank statement balance don't agree. So clearly, we have to do what? Update the cash book and then do the bank reconciliation statement, right? So in checking his cash book with his bank statement, we need to observe the following. So we're going to take a little read through here. But as we go through, so as we know, there are some items that go to update the cash book and some items that go to, quote unquote, update the bank statement or go in the bank rec, right? Some of them we use to increase the balance, and some of them we use to decrease the balance, right? Now, anybody remember anything from Monday? What are some items that we put in the updated cash? Lodgement goes in the bank rec, right? But that's still something you remember. Good. Bank charges, so when the bank standing order, right? So those two, which one? Credit transfer, if you have a credit transfer, number, debit transfer, right? So we have some things, so you remember some items, that's good. Right? So always look out for your standing orders and your bank charges, you'll almost always find them, right? The other ones like credit transfer, debit transfer, you'll take a look. Occasionally, they'll throw in an error that you're gonna have to kind of counterbalance, but we'll deal with that as we pick it up. Now, Shamo mentioned bank lodgements. So bank lodgements and unpresented checks actually go in the bank rec. And depending on whether you start with the bank statement balance or the cash book balance after you update it, will determine whether you add or subtract them. So normally, when we started with the bank statement balance, we would add bank lodgements and subtract the unpresented checks. However, if you look in this question here, we have the overdrawn cash book balance on top here. We'll read through the rest of these bullet points, but you'll notice that we do not have the bank statement balance. So we're not going to have a choice. We're going to have to start with the updated cash book balance, right? Now, there is a workaround you could do, but I would only advise it as a preliminary step before you actually do bank rec. But let's get into it, right? Okay. So forget the first one for now. Let's start with the second one, right? So bank charges for the month of for the month of 100 were entered in the bank statement, but not in the cash book. So here, they were kind enough to tell you that they put it in the bank statement, but not in the cash book. So if it's not in the cash book, guess where we have to put it? In the cash book. So what we're going to do, so you can put a little UCB for updated cash book. I have a question. If it's bank charges, is that an increase or a decrease? It's a decrease, right? So check what we're going to do. Give me a 2, right? An arrow, a pencil, no, do a line, right? Okay. So the item in any item in red, right, will go in the cash book. Right? So this item here will go in the updated cash book, and I put it as a minus sign. So bank charges will be subtracted. But on what side of the cash book do we put deductions? The credit side. Jojo Harrison, thanks very much. I appreciate that. Right, okay. Next, the bank paid Grenades insurance of 900 as instructed by standing order. So I think it was you who mentioned standing order. One of them, right. So a standing order is what? An instruction you give to the bank to make a payment on your behalf. And usually it'll be in the bank statement, but not in the cash book. So if it's a payment and you have to put it in your cash book, you'll have to go on the credit side. So we put a next little red horizontal line, meaning subtract. So of course that'll go on the credit side in the updated cash book. All right, we'll skip this one for now. Next, dividends of 2,100 from Red Limited was paid directly into Grenades bank account. So we know what dividends are. That's when you own shares in a company and they pay a piece of the profits. So Red paid Grenade, and remember we are Grenade. So Red paid Grenade dividends. So is this an inflow or an outflow from Grenades perspective? An inflow from Grenades perspective. From Red, if Red is paying Grenade, Grenade is receiving money. So it's an inflow. So on what side of the cash book will you put it? Right. So what we're going to do with this one here is we're going to put a vertical line for inflow, right? So we're going to add that one. And of course, if it's an inflow, it goes on the debit side. Let's jump to the last one. So 4 checks to, a check for 300 received from Yellow had been returned by the bank for insufficient funds. So that's what we call an NSF check. Sorry, Sana, we did companies already here, sorry, but we might review it on Monday. But you should check my lives. We only charge the lives for limited companies because we did it already. All right. So yeah. So if somebody gave us a check, on what side will we record that? The debit side. But if when we carry the check to the bank, we couldn't get the money, we have to now kind of undo the receipt. We have to undo the debit. Because what happened? Did we get the money? No. So we put it as we get the money. So now we have to kind of undo that. And to undo a debit, you have to credit the account. So this item here will be another credit in the updated cash book, right? And of course, the overdrawn balance is the opening balance on the credit side. All right, okay. So now just to clarify, this one here, the 4 checks totaling 52 had not yet been presented to the bank for bank payment. So if that had not yet been presented, they are unpresented. So that's what the unpresented check, not so? Okay, cool. So that would go in the bank reconciliation statement, right? And so normally, okay, so what I'll do is I'll put a like a kind of diagonal line, like a diagonal line here. Hold on. Yeah, go ahead. Right, so we had received a check from Yellow. So that initial transaction would be on the debit side. Because when we receive money, our bank account is going to increase. And to record an increase in an asset, you have to debit. Now, when we receive the check, we carry it to the bank, and we let the bank work their magic and we let our bank collect the money from Yellow's bank. But when our bank tried to collect the money, it turns out Yellow didn't have the money in their account. So that's why it says the check was returned by the bank for insufficient funds. So what happened was we didn't actually get the money. So right now in our cash book, there's a debit from Yellow saying 300, indicating we got money from Yellow. But in reality, when we tried to cash the check, tried to get the money, we couldn't get it because it didn't have enough. So we now have to go and undo that receipt. And to undo, so a receipt will be on the debit side, and to undo a debit in an account, you have to go on the opposite side, which is the credit side. Does that help? All right, yeah, no problem. All right, cool. Right, so this item here would go in the bank, correct? But right now, we didn't say if to add or subtract, so we'll come back to that, right? Now, deposits of 8,000 made to the bank did not appear on the bank statement. So you made some deposits, so you put money in the bank, but it didn't appear yet. So that's a bank lodgement. Right? So we're going to put a next diagonal line there. Right. Okay, so now let's talk again about the first one. So a check paid to Blue for 1238 was correctly entered in the bank statement, but entered in the cash book as 1328. Okay. So the check paid to Blue was 1238, and in the bank statement is correct. Okay, so there's no adjustment to make in the bank statement or bank record. But in the cash book, we put 1328. Is 1328 the correct value? No. Is it too high or too low? Too high. Now, before we figure out how much we had adjusted for, here's my question, right? If we paid Blue, on what side of the cash book would we have recorded that? The credit side. So the credit item is too high. To fix that, we have to decrease it. Now, we can't put a negative figure on the credit side. We can't go and scratch it out or delete it and put next one. So to decrease a credit entry, you have to go on the debit side, on the opposite side, and put a figure that'll bring it down, right? And how do we find the figure? You simply find the difference between the correct figure and the incorrect figure, right? So this will go in the updated cash book because it said it was entered in the cash book with the wrong figure. So therefore, we have to fix it in the cash book, right? Now, again, because we put it on the credit side and it was too high, we have to go on the debit side. So we put a little vertical red stroke here, right? And it's 90, that's correct. Okay, so what I want you to start with is I want you to start with is 90, yeah, that's correct. Yeah? It's 90, yeah. It's too high, but it's overstated or overcast by 90. Oh, you see it now? Okay, good. Right. So the items on the left side are the items for the updated cash book. Anything with a horizontal stroke is a minus, goes on the credit side. Anything with a vertical stroke is a plus, it goes on the debit side. And of course, your opening balance is 3,400, but it's an overdraft. So that'll be brought down on the credit side. Very good. All right. So organize the updated cash book for me, please. And of course, if you have any questions, it's not a problem. Please feel free to ask. I'm here to help. That's what we're here for. Right. I'm going to just double check my rule. Right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right. Minus 12. Okay, cool. I think I have everybody who popped in. Right. So take out somebody. I think it was Shiraz. I think Shiraz was supposed to come out. Right. So I think Aisha had discontinued. I just don't know. Supposed to be here. Watches the replays. Kelsey also has grandma. So I'll put a excuse. There's the replay page, right? Sequoia Moon. Rasa that right? You know, hold on. I swear I saw Yuri. So that's everybody. Crosby, Jaden. Okay, I'll do fast. Sorry, Jaden. Ari, why are you crying? Are you gonna? All right. So I'll give you a minute or two again to see, let you have a chance to try updating the cash book. Nah, so don't worry about the dates. Yeah. We just said in September. So you can just put like, I didn't have a year. So you can put 20XX. Who that? Oh, it's Yuri. All right. Hey, Yuri, good afternoon. How you doing? Yeah, don't worry. We only start like about 10 minutes now, so you didn't miss much. I ran a bit late today because I had a funeral to go to and we went to the house after and then, so yeah. I was home by 4 o'clock, yeah, but I had to take a shower. I was just way too sweaty. All right, guys. Okay, cool. Let's put that down now. Yeah. So, Yuri, what we're doing is this is the May 2016 bank rec question. We just talked through it, right? So the overdraft, it's the cash book as an overdraft at start, right? Anything with any bullet point that has a red line on the left is an item that is going to be used to update the cash book, right? The horizontal strokes are like minus signs, so those things are decreases. They'll go on the credit side. Anything with a vertical stroke, so we could even put like a plus. Right, so those things are increases, right? And they'll go on the debit side, right? And the two items with the kind of diagonal stroke to the on the right hand side, those items will go in the bank rec. Now, the thing about this particular question, Yuri, is that they didn't give us comparative cash book and bank statement items. They just gave us a list of items that we should know what to do with. All right, which to me is not really like a kind of real world thing, right? To me, if you're doing a bank rec, you should have access to the bank statement and the cash book, right? But anyhow, I mean, this is how to bring it, so we have to know how to do it like this. All right. Yeah. So reason I didn't put whether to add or subtract the bank rec items is because we don't have the bank statement balance. So we kind of have no choice but to start with the updated cash book balance. Right. So normally we would add the bank lodgements and subtract the unpresented checks. But because that is what we do when we have the bank statement balance. And we do have that. We actually have the cash book balance. We have to reverse that logic. So we'll actually add the four checks that are not represented and then subtract the bank lodgement. All right. So what I'm going to push that to the top. Push this. This is May 2016. That's I think that's all I could go in right now. Okay. Well, let's pull this up a little bit. Right. So in September, grenades cash. Actually, hold on this now. Let me actually pull that back down and then maximize this. Right. I'll give you a couple minutes again to finish off the cash book if necessary. If you're doing the bank rec one time, then no problem. You organize the business. Let's check something real quick here before I jump into it. Ready? All right. Let's take a swing. Okay, so we're going to start with the overdrawn balance. So again, because it's an overdraft, it's going to be brought down on the credit side. So balance brought down 3,400. Now, some people like to put O/D or overdraft. If it's on the credit side, it's already being understood as an overdraft. There's no need to put anything else. But if you want to, you can. It's not wrong. You're not going to lose marks. All right? Oh, Emily. Emily says, hi, Nyla. You don't know who that is? No. All right, sorry, Gina. Does the bank rec statement come like this, or do they give you the cash book and bank statement now? All right, Gina. they gave us, hold on, let me tell you. There have only been 3 times they gave us the cash book and bank statement. 2003, 2015, and 2024 Jan. Right, Gina? All the other times that you see in here is just the words. Up to 2024 May. Right? Uh-huh. Cash book. Yeah. Yeah. We don't have the bank statement, so we have no choice but to start with the cash book. So let me balance it first and we'll talk, right? All right. So the first thing we said is the check paid to Blue for 1238 was correctly entered on the bank statement, but entered in the cash book as 1328. So if we pay Blue, we're going to put that on the credit side of the cash book, right? But we put 1328 instead of 1238. So 1328 is higher than the correct figure of 1238. So it's overcast. So if it's too high, to fix that, we have to bring it down. Now, we can't put negative items in a T account. We have to use the opposite sides to counterbalance, right? So if the credit side is too high, and if you find the difference between the incorrect figure and the correct figure, let's take a look, right? So 1328, 1238, and if you minus, you find the difference, you get 90. So the credit side is too high by $90. The credit entry was too high by $90. This came out 2 minutes, right? So we have to go on the opposite side. So if the credit side is too high, we have to go on the debit side to counterbalance or to effect the decrease, right? So this would be, you can simply say overcast credit entry. Or you could even just put blue, right? You could just put blue because clearly we would have put blue and put the 1328. So you could put blue and that, right? But I would say, or you could even say to correct error. Right. Next. Bank charges for the month of 100 were entered on the bank statement, but not in the cash book. Right. So bank charges are literally where the bank charges us, takes money out of our account for safeguarding our money, doing standing, all that kind of stuff. It's a decrease, and decreases go on the credit side of the cash book. Cool. And then the bank paid Grenades insurance as instructed by a standing order. So the bank paid money out of our account. So it's a payment. It goes on the credit side. All right. All right. Okay. Okay. So, Sana, a bank statement is the document the bank sends us with all the transactions that they would be aware of. And the bank reconciliation statement is a statement showing why our cash book balance differs from the bank statement balance, right? Further, the bank prepares the bank statement, and we prepare the bank rec. All right, dividends of 2,100 paid directly into Green. Okay, so if it was paid into our account, it would go on the debit side. Sorry. Yeah, right. That's who has dividends. Right, and then a check for 300 received for was returned. So return checks go on this side, right? So we can put NSF check. Yellow. Right, and that was 300. Okay, so those are all the things that would go inside of the updated cash book. So what we have to do now is balance off. So what we'll do is we'll use our calculators and add up each of the columns, debit column and credit column. Now clearly, which side has a larger total, debit or credit? Credit side. So what we have to do is we have to find the difference and add it on the debit side. All right, so that'll be equal to 4,700 minus 2190. So if it was 22, it'll be 25. So 2510. Per. All right. WRS, which one I skip? B. 10, yeah. Oh, yeah. Careful. Yeah, no worries. All right, and of course you could bring your balance down. So clearly we are still in overdraft. So even though we updated the cash book that had an overdraft balance, we are still in overdraft, right? That was 1,300 there, and this was about, yeah, so about 800. Yeah, okay, it's just a smaller overdraft. Yeah. No. 4 checks, totaling 5,200. Uh-huh. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. So, just to kind of, sorry, when is 2024 paper to go into post on YouTube? You haven't put it. I don't know if it's Zia or Zaya. I just don't have time to edit. I have a 2.5-year-old and a 6-month-old, and my editing time now goes to caring for them and spending time with them. But you can do if you want. Email me now. I have the PDF for the solutions because I wanted to put I wanted to do like 5 live to do the solutions and just post it and then do the edited versions after. But I know when that happens. So if you want the solutions, message me. I'll give it to you for free. No problem. Right. Sorry. Now, in class, people, are we okay with the updated cash book for Grenade? Does anybody have any questions on any of the aspects? Okay, Google Meet, you guys know the drill. If you guys are good with that, just kind of give me a quick G in the chat. And if you need me to re-explain anything, give me an R. 2008 was a standing order. Standing order is an instruction we give to the bank to make a payment on our behalf, like every month or every 6 months or whatever. So it's an automatic payment made by the bank from our account. It's a format given to you. They might give you a table with columns. So yeah, but you are free to disregard and use your own format. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Everybody, boy. What? Almost everybody. Right. Okay, on to the bank rec now. Right. So with the bank rec now, because we don't have the bank statement balance, we have no choice but to start with the updated cash book balance, right? Okay, and that is equal to 2510. Now, please note, I have it in brackets because it's an overdraft, and brackets indicate negativity. You can use brackets, you can use a negative sign, you could use O/D. Just know it's a negative number. Right? Why is the 8,000 deposit not in the cash book? It is. It's already there. But what happened? What is saying is not on the bank statement. Right, so this first item, deposits of 8,000 made to the bank account did not appear on the bank statement. So we make the deposit. So we would already know about this 8,000. It would already exist in the cash book. But what's happening is it's not on the bank statement. So normally, if you take your bank statement balance and we tell you, hey, you're missing an 8,000 inflow, what would you do? You would add it. But if we start in with the cash book balance, we have to do the reverse, which is subtract. So you have to less bank lodgements, right? Or you could even just put less missing deposits or whatever the case is, right? There's no, right. So we put money into the bank. But what happened is the bank has to go through a process before they recognize it and as entering the account. And also in that process, before they recognize it, they can't put it on the bank statement, right? So if we make a deposit on the 29th of September, normally it's take about 1 working week, right? So 5 working days, which is like a whole calendar week, for it to appear in our bank account. So if we put it on the 29th and the bank statement is prepared on the 30th, the whole week hasn't passed. So the bank statement wouldn't reflect the deposit, right? So normally, if we start in the bank rec with the bank statement balance, we would add it in to show that, hey, the bank statement balance missing this increase, so we're just going to add it in, right? Mm-hmm. Right. So if the cash, okay, so check it. This is your bank statement balance, this is your cash book balance. You want them to be the same. You want to explain why they're not, yeah, you want them to be the same. if I have an inflow of 8,000 in the cash book, that's not in the bank statement, I have two ways to make this the same. I either add it to the bank statement balance or I subtract it from the cash book balance. So that's why, right? Right. So whether they add the unpresented checks first and then subtract the bank lodgements makes no difference. Because it's like saying 4 plus 3 minus 2 or 4 minus 2 plus 3. Same thing, right? Right. And then the unpresented checks, so the 4 checks totaling 52 have not been presented for the bank. Right? Okay. So an unpresented check, once again, is a check we use to pay for something. Now, when we make a payment, on what side of the cash book do we record it? The credit side. All right. 1 second. I got the 8,000 from right here. Yeah. Now, we put it on the credit side of the cash book. Cool. That's an outflow, right? Now, if the bank statement, so if we give somebody a check and they carry it to the bank and they get the money, the bank statement will reflect the outflow. If we give the person the check and they don't carry it to the bank, is the money going to come out of our account? No. So what would happen in that case, just like I showed you just now, is if we make a payment and record in the cash book, our cash book goes down. Until that check goes to the bank and is processed, the bank statement balance is going nowhere. So you have two ways to make these balances equal again. Either you subtract it from the bank statement balance or you add it back to the cash book balance. And because we don't have the bank statement balance, we have to add it back to the cash book balance. So add unpresented check. And that's 5,200. Right. And this balance here of negative 5310 would simply be the bank statement balance. But we have no way to cross-check it. We have no way to know for sure. But we've done the correct working, so it had to be that. So if you have both balances, you can. Like on Monday, we had both balances, right? Right. So Sana, once again. So just to recap once again, right? The deposits of 8,000 made to the bank account on the 29th of September did not appear on the bank statement. So we put money, we went to the bank and deposited some checks and some cash. But there is a time lag between when we do that and when it actually appears on the bank statement. So what we're saying is if we deposited the money on the 29th and the bank statement is prepared on the 30th, the bank statement wouldn't reflect the money. So once again, cash book, bank statement. If we get $8,000, the cash book going up. Unless we put in money in the bank statement, they're going nowhere. So we put the money in the bank statement, but the bank statement didn't reflect it. So we have this difference between the cash book and the bank statement balance. So to make them equal, you could do one or two things. You could add it to the bank statement balance in the bank rec, or you could subtract it from the cash book balance in the bank rec. And again, because we don't have the bank statement balance and we are using the updated cash book balance to start, right? All right. Hold on. Are you using a minus 2510? All right. So start with minus 2510, add 52 and minus 8,000 again. Okay, so no problems. Okay. So Google Meet, if you guys are good with the bank rec, just kind of give me a quick Gmail chat. Yeah, I'll maximize the whole thing. Sorry. And of course, if you need me to re-explain, give me a R, right? Okay. Right. A bank lodgement is when we would go to the bank to put in money or checks. And there's a time lag between when we do that and when the bank actually recognizes it in our account, right? Because they have to, if it's checks, they have to talk to the other banks and get the money from them first, right? So the bank lodgement is the money we put in to the bank that is not yet showing on the bank statement, right? So isn't it minus 2 right here? I mind deposit working for that. And my question, did you do this? Right. The reason it's wrong is because, remember, this is an overdraft. An overdraft is a negative balance. So that's why it's not minus 290. Because it's a negative 2510. Yeah. All right, so hold on. So what's the figure you're getting? All right. All right, CK, no problem. Okay, Okay, Mandeep, you're good with it now? All right, cool. In class, people, apart from 1 or 2, are we okay with the bank rec? All right. As in why we add this item, why we subtract. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. 2690. All right, hold on. Call out the figures for me. Call out your figures. Negative 2510 plus 5200. And then the last figure I have. Yeah? You get through? All right, cool. There, guys. If it's the calculator giving trouble, cool. Now, just so you know, if, let me say, you made an error in the calculation and the figure here is not the correct figure. If you have the correct figures here and you label your work incorrectly, you probably will still get the mark. Yeah? That's based on the error carried forward rule. All right? Okay. So that was grenade. All right? So I know we ran late, so we have about half an hour again. I can't go too much past 6 o'clock, unfortunately, right? I have an idea about what I could do. All right. Okay. All right. So let me take all this and close up. Right. Okay. So that was the May 2016. Jan 2019. Oh, sorry. My bad. Okay. All right, guys. This is the Jan 2019 question. Let me see if I could print it for you all real quick, right? This current page, and we'll do 8 copies. Right. Yeah. So Google Meet, I would have sent you all. Do you always subtract deposits? If you're starting with the cash book balance, the updated cash book, yes. If you start with the bank statement balance, then add them. Jan 2019? Yeah. Right. Okay. Guys, when the screen here, I'll put it to print for you all so you'll get a hard copy shortly. But let's take a read in the meantime. ABC Company Limited provides the following data at 31st December 2018. Balance as per bank statement was 7350, right? So if they didn't say overdraft or overdrawn, we could assume it's a regular positive bank balance. And it's the bank statement balance, right? Okay. 2 deposits which were paid into the bank on the 29th of December were not appearing on the month-end bank statement. So if we put in money, we deposited money, but it doesn't appear on the bank statement. That was what we call it again? Bank lodgements, right? Or you could simply say, if you can't remember the name or the name not making sense, just say missing deposits, right? Or deposits not appearing, all right? So we have 2 inflows that don't appear on the bank statement. Okay. 2 creditors, R. Jones and T. Miles, were paid by check during the month of December. However, these checks for $550 and $963 respectively were not shown on the month-end bank statement. Yes, it will. So we paid, huh? Right, so we do have the cash flow balance, right? So what they want us to do is to prepare the bank rec, starting with the bank statement balance, and show clearly the cash flow balance because we had to work it out, right? All right, so let me pull the hard copies, right? Right, this is one of the few questions that didn't have an updated cash book. Right, so if you know what to do, go ahead. If not, just hold on, we'll discuss it. Right. Okay, right. So, once again, we have the bank statement balance. The first item says that these 2 checks, these 2 deposits which were paid into the bank didn't appear. So we put in money to the bank, right? Yeah, this is a bank rec, yeah. So we put in money to the bank, but it doesn't appear on the bank statement. So in the bank rec, what would we do with these items? Would we add them or subtract them? We would add them to the bank statement. Why? Because they are inflows that are not appearing. So when they actually do appear, what would happen to the bank balance? Would they go up or down? It will go up. That's why we would add them. Right? Similarly, these two checks. So we made payments. When you make a payment, what's going to happen to the amount of money you have? Increase or decrease? Decrease. So these two creditors were paid. We gave them checks. Right? However, they didn't carry the check to the bank yet, so the money didn't come out. However, in your cash book, once you give somebody a check, you're going to record that on the credit side. So you would have a decrease in your cash book. So again, when you make a payment, your cash book is going to go down. Until they carry your checks to the bank and cash them, your bank statement balance is going nowhere. So you have two ways to make these equal. Either you subtract it from the bank statement balance, or you add it back to the cash book balance. Now here, because we don't have the cash book balance, we're looking for it, but we have the bank statement balance, that's what we're going to do. We're going to subtract. So you're going to add these two figures to the 7350 and subtract these two, well, any working. Cool. Right, so you can head up ABC Company Limited, bank, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What? Yeah. 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 So any bank lodgement, so any inflows that are not recorded, we would add them. Any outflows, any unpresented checks that are not recorded on the bank statement, we'll subtract them. Right, so this was 6 marks, right? So again, let me just go and click something on the printer and go back. Yeah. Yeah, actually today I'm going to be working some of the harder algebra questions. Was before it that had any sheets why we subtracted. Right. So Chucky, what's going on is we have a bank statement balance, right? The bank statement is prepared by the bank. It keeps track of all money. They keep keeping track of all money at the bank. Now, when we pay people, we record it in the cash book. So we are in charge of the cash book. That's our records. The bank statement is the bank records, right? What we're saying here is the bank statement doesn't reflect these payments. So two creditors, R. Jones and T. Miles, were paid by check during the month of December. Cool. So we paid, ABC paid Jones and Miles. So in your cash book, when you make the payments, your cash book gonna go down, right? When the checks, as I say, when they hit the bank, so when Jones and Miles carry the checks we give them to the bank and they put them in the bank, money's gonna come out of our bank now. So the bank statement gonna go, the bank balance gonna go down, right? Now they didn't yet carry it. So what we're saying is that this 7350 doesn't reflect these payments being made. So what we want to do is we want to show what effect these payments would have on the bank statement balance when the checks hit the account, right? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. You can say for the month because the bank statements are usually for a month at a time, right? So this is Jan 19, right? Okay, cool. Yeah, sorry, you had a question? No, we don't have any cash book information. So all we have to do is the bank rec. Mm-hmm. You could add both of them together and put it as one item, bank movements. You could put them separately once you're adding them. It don't matter. There's no one right format or one right way to present or do a bank rec, right? The fundamental principles must be observed. How you choose to present or illustrate that can differ, right? The syllabus would like for you to know what a bank lodgement is and how to treat it in a bank rec. They would like for you to know what an unpresented check is and how to treat it in a bank rec. But let's just say them words and phrases not clicking. They're causing more problems than they're helping, then forget them. If you know, hey, if I make 2 deposits and my bank statement will reflect it, what I'm going to do in my bank is I'm going to add them because deposits are money put into the bank. When you put money into the bank statement balance is supposed to go up, right? So let's start there. So we'll start with balance as per bank statement, which is the 7350. Right. Yeah, Chucky, I hope I answered your question there. Right. So we can add the two bank lodgements. Or again, you can show them separately if you want, right? So 1500 and 750, sorry, is 2250. Right. And then the two checks, right? The two checks that we paid, right, is when we make a payment, money comes out of the account. But that's only going to happen if the people we give the checks to carry the money to check to the bank. Correct, because in the other one, we started with the updated cash book balance. Here, we started with the bank statement balance. So this, you did the lodgements. Yeah, you'd add them because those are inflows, and inflows increase the account. Right, so that's equal to 550 and 963. So that's 1517? No, 1530. Wow, okay. When you add and subtract going on, you get 8087. And that would be the balance as per cash book. Okay, Chucky, glad to hear that. All right. Google Meet. Ladies and gents on there, if you guys are good with the bank rec, please give me a quick G in the chat. 9. Yeah. All right. So I took the 550 and added the 963. Yeah. Yeah. Is it 9 or 9? I seem to be thinking. Is that questions I have or? Right. It doesn't matter if we less or add bank. No, it does, Nayeli. It depends on what the first item is. Right? What you could do, Nayeli, go on YouTube and watch the reviews from Monday. Right? It explains why we would either add or subtract the bank lodgement. It depends on if we start with the bank statement balance or the cash book balance. Starting with the bank statement balance is the more intuitive way to start. Right. Google Meet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 out of 11. Anna. Yes, Anna, it could be. In Form 4, Form 5, I had no clue how to do this topic. I discussed it out. All right, in class, people, are we okay with this item here? All right. Yeah, but Sana, if you have a specific question, pick one thing that gives you trouble and ask. Right? It all starts with one thing. All right, so we going again? There we go again. Like that one. Right. As light. Let me do as light. Why not? Okay. Front page. Right, so this is May 2021. Let's see the printer will continue to behave. Okay. Right, so as bank statement showed an overdraft of 678. On the same day, the cash book was also in overdraft by 678. Okay, so we have cash book and bank statement balances. Good. They're both in overdraft. Okay. The following discrepancies between the two records were discovered. Okay, so we have 3 discrepancies. A check sent to a supplier, A. Jamil, did not appear on the bank statement. Okay, so that's an unpresented check, right? When that hits the bank statement, is it an inflow or an outflow? An outflow. We send a check to somebody. When we send a check, are we paying or are we getting money? We going out, right? So if we send a check to a supplier, that's a payment, money coming out. If it didn't appear on the bank statement, what we do in the bank rec is we subtract it, right? Now, just remember, this is an overdraft, which means it is already a negative balance, right? So if you so just bear that in mind. Next, the bank statement showed a debit for Heaven Prosper's personal private home insurance, 240. Okay, that one had confused me initially. How I ended up rationalizing it was this. Okay, so the bank statement showed a debit for an insurance figure. That probably means it was a standing order. It was a payment that was taken out of the bank account directly, right? So it wasn't in the cash book. So that item would have to be, so this item of 240, it's already in the bank statement. So if it's already in the bank statement, where we had to put it? In the cash book. Is it an inflow or an outflow? It's a debit to the bank statement, which is an outflow. So it's also therefore going to be an outflow in the cash book. So on what side do we put that? The credit side. And the third item, the bank had not recorded cash sales deposited on the 31st of May. Okay, so a deposit is a deposit money going into or coming out of the bank? Into, right. So when it hits the account, what's supposed to happen to the bank statement balance? Up or down? Up. It's supposed to increase, but it's not showing it. So what we're going to do, we're going to add it. Now it says beginning with the bank statement overdraft, prepare a bank reconciliation statement for S-Lite, right? Now, what I'm going to advise you to do is this. So you're going to start with the negative 1118, right? You're going to minus the 700 and add the 900. This 240, you're going to have to go on the side and do a separate working. This 240, you're going to have to, so this is a negative balance. So you had to do so this is 678. So if you want, you could do like a very mini cash book. This is an overdraft. On what side of the account do we put the overdraft? Credit side. This is a payment. On what side do we put a payment? Credit side. So basically, you're going to add those two balances together, but they're both negative items, right? So when you add them together, just put back the negative sign. Okay. So very quickly, right? G, the second point. Yeah. Okay. Let me go with the second point. So this bank statement showing a debit for Heaven Prospers personal private home insurance, right? So the bank statement shows a debit. A debit in the bank statement is an outflow, right? But it also implies that it's not in the cash book. So what we have to do is put it in the cash book. Now, once again, a debit in the bank statement is an outflow. So we have an outflow in the bank statement that we don't have in the cash book. So what we have to do is we have to then reflect it in the cash book. So the cash book has a negative balance of 678. So this here, being an outflow, is going to actually increase the negative balance. All right, so I hope that helps G. Right. Cornell. Okay, wait. If we start with the bank statement balance, we do the opposite of what we start with the capital. CK, yes, that's correct. Okay, it's me, Rebecca, working on Sana. Well, Sana, I just did. All right. Into and up. Hey, okay, oh, you're party. Okay, good. Yeah, all right, lovely. Debited. Cash book outflow. What? G. Okay, a little better. All right. Yeah, so take a few minutes, see if you can sort it out. Yeah. Oh, good, the paper. Sorry. Why is it an outflow? The second one is actually not an unpresented check. It has one. That's the first one. So, is it Sunny? Right. Yeah, maybe. Does this one have any bank lodgements or unpresented check? Okay, right. So the first one is an unpresented check. A check sent to a supplier did not appear on the bank statement. That is the literal definition of an unpresented check, right? So when we pay somebody with a check, in order for them to get the money, they have to present it to the bank. If they don't, right, then obviously the money can't come out of the account, and hence it will not appear on the bank statement. So the first one is an unpresented check, right? The last one is the bank lodgement. The bank had not recorded cash sales deposited on the 31st. All right. The second one is a standing order. That's correct. So that's as well. We assuming it's like a debit transfer at the very least. I don't know if it is a standing order. It could be, but long story short, it's money that came out of the bank account, right? That we now have to update the cash book for, right? So yeah, what's a standing order? A standing order is an automatic payment made by the bank on our behalf. So we have to actually fill out a form telling them, hey, make this payment for my insurance or for my rent or whatever for this account on the last day, on the last working day every month, or the 25th, or whatever the case is. That's what a standing order is. Right? It's literally a standing order to do something, like an instruction, a standing instruction, right? An instruction that stands. I'm not sure how to explain that word, sorry. Right. Pick that one up there. Put this one down. And what we're going to do on top, we're going to come out a little bit. Because that was the gate. Today's what? Right, okay. Cool. That's still visible. Is it still legible? Is it too small? Number 2. 1 second. This is 2021. Yeah. Okay. So check it. This is how I approach this one, right? So the second item is a direct debit. All right. Direct credit. Wait, no. Shut up, Chris. The bank statement showed a debit, right? So it's money coming out of our account. So somebody said it could be a standing order, but I don't know that it is. Normally they would say if it's a standing order, right? But we know that it came out of the account, so we have to reflect that in the cash book, right? So the first thing is we put the balance brought down, which is 678, right? Because that's what they tell us in this line here. On that same date, the cash book balance was overdrawn. An overdraft is brought down on the credit side. And there's one outflow in the information, right? There's 240 for the insurance. So 240, so that's actually drawings, right? It's drawings because it went to pay. No, so sorry, the context for Heaven Prospect. Sorry, question? Yeah, good spot. Yeah, sorry. It's drawing. So Heaven Prosper, by the way, owns as Light Wholesale. Sorry, I should have said that. Right. So Heaven Prosper is actually the owner of the business. So it's a personal private home insurance. It's a personal payment. So if you use your business funds to make a personal payment, we call that what? Drawings. Right? Right. So this side now will total up to that. And the balance carried down is equal to the same 918. There's nothing else in the cash book, right? So you have your overdraft is now bigger. 918. Right? So now it's said to do what? Starting with the bank statement overdraft, prepare the bank rec. Okay, cool. So we're going to start with the bank statement overdraft of 1118, right? So balance as per bank statement minus 1118. Cool. Right. So the first one was a unpresented check. What do we do with unpresented checks if we start with the bank statement balance? Add or subtract it. Less unpresented check. Whoop. Right, I press Q and I press tab instead. Yes, pressure. Right, so minus some heart. And the bank had not recorded the cash. So that's a bank lodgement. So add bank lodgement. 900. Right. I'm not sure why we have an extra line there. I'll take that out. Cool. When we add and subtract going down, aha! Didn't we just see the 918 up here? Look at that. Balance as per updated cash book. Maximize. Right. So once again, in this question, they only asked for the bank rec. They didn't ask for the updated cash book, right? But you needed to update the cash book balance for the drawings of 240, right? The insurance payment for the personal private home insurance. right? Now you could put that in the bank rec too by adding it back, but I would tell you, right? Why did I less? Because I started with the bank statement balance. If you started with the updated cash book balance, you would do the reverse. Right. Okay. Google Meet. If you guys are good with the solution for 2021, please give me a G in the chat. If you need me to re-explain anything, everything, give me a R. I'll watch any time. We'll go a little past 6, right? I do feel good about starting so late. I know today was an unusual day in terms of the funeral. That doesn't happen very often. So yeah, but still, okay. So if my work for for example, CZ table given, would I get marks off? No, you're not supposed to. You're not supposed to. Sure, no problem. You're happy. I'm sorry, happy to help. So did you put number 2 in as a trick? No, it wasn't a trick, Harry. It was they didn't ask you for the updated cash book. So you have to know to do it anyway. So it's not really a trick, but kind of. So for the second one, it says bank statement, they show a debit. No. Right. So the bank statement, the debits and credits are reversed. The debits are outflows, credits are inflows because the bank statement is the bank reporting on our money by them. And from their perspective, our money is a liability. Right. Okay, thanks, Rebecca. Right. Nayeli. Okay, cool. Right. So this once again, right? So the question told us that we had an overdraft in the bank statement and the cash book, right? They gave us 3 items. The first one is an unpresented check. The last one is a bank lodgement. The one in the middle, that is a debit to the bank statement that didn't appear in the cash book. A debit is an outflow. So when you do the updated cash book, which they didn't ask for, they didn't ask for the updated cash book, but you should have done some kind of work on it, right? So you put your overdraft on the credit side because it's a liability. 240 is an outflow. It also goes on the credit side. So now we end up with a bigger overdraft. And then for the bank rec, right, you would start with the 1118 and it's an overdraft, right? So an overdraft is a negative bank balance. So you're going to put that here, right? The unpresented check is an outflow when it hits the bank statement. So we subtract that from the bank statement balance. And the bank lodgement, the money being put into the bank is an inflow. So we will add it to show the effect it will have when it finally is reflected in the bank statement. And the 918 here, negative 918, matches with the 918 overdraft. Hey, Aida, how you doing? All right, cool. So in bank statements, debits are outflows, yes. Right. Good job, Rebecca. Cool. I did this for number 2. I did a. Yeah, correct. You will know. Suri. I know we have like 5 minutes again. Okay, let's do a short one. Why not? Why do the short one? Because we have 5 minutes again. And I'd rather do so actually I do have this one up on YouTube yet. So I'd rather give you the one that does not up because the other one is up already. So you can always check that one if anything. That's the 2022 question. Right, so May 2024. So this is last year's paper. Chocho, what might come? All right, Chocho, let me just finish this question first, and I'll check it. I'll get back to it, right? Personal private home. Yes, that's correct. They say, yeah, that's correct. That's exactly it, Sam. Because they said personal private home insurance. Insurance, yeah, insurance is where you use business expenses for your own personal use. That's correct. All right, guys. Let's knock out the 2024 May question and call it the evening there. All right. So the following information is available for John Enterprises for the month ended 31st December 2023. So the balance as per bank statement was 9275. So again, they didn't say overdraft or overdrawn, so we could assume it's a regular positive bank balance. Check 103 and check 107 were not shown on the 31st December bank statement. So these are unpresented checks. A deposit of 2270 made on the 31st of December was not reflected in the month-end bank statement. Prepare the bank rec for John for the month-ended data arrive at the cash book balance. So we're going to start with the bank statement balance. What we're going to do with the unpresented checks? We're going to subtract them. And what do we do with the lodgement? We add it. Right, good. Go ahead. Yes, the bank rec. Yeah, we have no. This is like 2 questions ago. In this question, as like no, they only asked for the bank rec, but because they had that adjustment to make to the cash book, you could do it, or you could actually put in the bank statement as adding it back. Right? Yeah, you don't have a choice. Right. Kuro. Do I have a link for the paper? Email me now. Email me. I'll see if I can help you out. I don't have a link for it per se, but who's the Mari? Why add the lodgement? Right. So again, a lot of teachers just teach how to do a bank rec starting with the cash book balance, which they shouldn't do. They should teach it, but not the only way. Right? A bank lodgement is when we put money, a deposit is money being put into the bank. If it wasn't reflected on the month-end bank statement, it means that the bank statement is missing an inflow. Right? So in the bank rec, what we have to do is show the effect that this deposit would have on the bank statement balance. All right? Tomorrow, hope that helps. Right. Are we subtracting the checks because it starts with the bank statement? Yes, Ari, that is correct. Taking away the deposit. No, we're not taking the deposit, we're adding it. Yeah. Blake, you just reach in time for the end of class. Right. Why do we subtract unpresented checks? Because they are payments, right? The unpresented checks are payments, right? And payments will take money out of the account. This is the bank statement balance, right? Like I was saying just now, a lot of teachers only teach how to do a bank rec starting with the cash book balance. And that is not a good thing because you can do a bank rec in different ways. And here, we do have the cash book balance. So we have no choice but to start with the bank statement balance, right? So to me, it makes more sense to start with the bank statement balance. It's a more intuitive way to approach a bank reconciliation statement because basically it mimics what we do when we update the cash book. We add inflows that we're missing and subtract outflows that we're missing. So when you start with the bank statement balance, that's what you do. You add inflows that are missing and you subtract outflows that are missing. Long story short. So I don't see why minus the checks. Right, Sano. The bank statement balance is 9275. These checks are checks that we paid, right? Now they don't tell us that explicitly, but we understand that because we're supposed to have done quite a number of questions, right? Again, I agree with you that it's not clear enough, but there's some context implied here, and they do have a certain level of expectation of you all having being taught, which is not again, if it didn't happen, it's not your fault, but your education is your responsibility. So yeah. That's correct. Yeah, that's correct. So this is 2024, right? Right. So we do have an updated cash book, right? Because we have no cash book information, right? So we're going to start with the balance as per bank statement, which is 9275, right? Right. So the checks, these checks here are payments, and they said that they were not shown on the 31st December bank statement. So what would happen when they are actually shown? Right? Well, if checks are payments, when you make a payment, what happens to the money in your account? Up or down? It goes down. So what we'll do, they weren't shown. So what we have to do in the bank rec is show what would happen when the checks actually hit the account, which is that money would come out. So that's why we subtract unpresented checks. Right? So that's minus 1223 minus 830. Right. And a deposit of 2270 made on the last day of the year wasn't reflected. So like I said, a deposit is money being put in the account. When you put money in your account, will your balance go up or down? Up, right. So it's an increase that wasn't reflected. So what we have to do is show what happens when it actually is reflected, or what happens to the bank statement balance when that 2270 is actually put into the bank statement. It's an increase, so we add it. Add and subtract, and that becomes the balance as per cash book. All right. Real bad. I interview real old, anyhow. But if it were an influencer, what would it say for number 2? And then CK, hold on. Okay, so I hope I answered Junaid, Mr. or Miss Ishmael's question. Right. Saniko, I told you out. Sana and CK. If what was an inflow? Number 2 was an inflow? It would say something like in the third item. Right, Google Meet. If you guys are good with that, just kind of give me a quick G in the chat, please, and ask. If you need me to re-explain anything, now is a good time to ask. I will do it. Chat full because I see XE. Yeah, boy. POG. Hog. God. God. All right. In class, people, we okay with the solution here? All right. Yes, CK. Checks. Yeah. If they were inflows, they'd have to say that checks we received or checks we deposited. It have to indicate that it's an inflow somewhere, somehow. If they just say checks, especially when they give us the check numbers, that indicates it's a payment from us. All right, folks, before we log off for today, as of tomorrow, you are in May. The majority of your exams will take place in May. So if no one has told you that, I'll tell you now, welcome to exam season. And I'll tell you again tomorrow. So remember, as we all know, the exam is on Tuesday. Today is Wednesday. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. I mean, you could study the rest of the day if you want. So maybe 5 on a piece, right? But you have 5 more days. And on top of that, English and Spanish on Monday. So we know some more. Let us study for that. Anyhow, as you can see, we have double sessions for the rest of the week. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, right? We have errors tomorrow, including suspense accounts. We have budgets on Friday, stock valuation on Saturday, payroll on Sunday. Now, some of these might end up taking 1 session. I'm budgeting 2 in case we need extra practice, which is fine, right? Ratios on Monday. Now, again, English in the morning is 2 hours and 40, so that's 9 to like 11:40. So by 12, you're out. Some all are Spanish. If there are those among you who do not have Spanish and you want to come for 1 o'clock, let me know so I could find myself here. All right? But the item for Monday is ratios and whatever else you could fit. All right? 8:30. We are going super late. 8:30. Yeah. If you want to leave at 6, you're free to do so. Right? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday is 10 to 12, or for lunch, and 1 to 3. That is it. Right? I would like to do more with Olia, but I don't want to burn Olia out at the start of exam season. Yeah. Yeah, man. You do it. All right, cool. We'll see you tomorrow then. All right. Right. Google Meet, as you see, right? So, of course, Google Meet, if any only want to come down, it's a room, right? Come through. If you can't come down, if you prefer to stay online, by all means, do the thing, right? Chocho says scared. That's all right, Chocho. Go like exams. I agree. Okay, so Sana, you see the breakdown until exams, right? Rebecca, are we crying? Miss the stress. Streaming live all, yes. So saying if you don't have an updated cash balance, you subtract unpresented and add less. And add lodgements, yes. Now you're cooked. Well, if you're not cooked and if you're raw, that's not a bad thing, unless it's sushi. Yeah, class done. This me? Oh, your name on it? Oh. You always make sure your name and you know how much you pay the person. Eh? Right. Now, Lou, yeah, class done for now. Actually, I have maths in half an hour. I'll probably start 6:40 because I had to eat. Right. TikTok. I'll go on there. Thanks to the company. Right. Google Meet. I'll go on. I'll see some more. If I'm maths in about half an hour, the rest all there. I'll see you tomorrow. Later. Wait, Jordan go. Okay. I'll still ask Jordan. Anyhow. Yeah, Rebecca, thanks very much. More than a cook. Crisp, toasted, grilled, baked. So is your in-person class free? No, it's not. In-person is not free. Pay for that. So what time is mine? 6:30 is supposed to be, but I'll probably start 6:45. It's not looking good. Why I'm here? Well, Harry, you just ask. I mean, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. But you would know. You just never know. It shouldn't be free here either. But anyway, guys, I'll log off there. I'll see you in about half an hour for max, right?